Hey everybody, I've got a top secret game to show you. It's called Chaos Ensues. It's an investigative RPG by Uriah Edwards. One thing that's very cool about this is that it is on Drive-Thru RPG. It's pay what you want, and the print is even pay what you want. So if you like it, send a couple bucks extra his way. Of course, you're going to have to meet the minimum if you get the print. And leave a review. That is so important to leave a review of anything you get. Out there with role-playing games. Let people know what you think about it. It's only going to help them and let it get seen. So let's take a look. I really dig the look of this book. And so one thing I want to point out is right here, Rules by Phil Stroud. I did a video on one of his games called Blood Junkies. I'll have a thumbnail at the end. You can click on that and you can go check out my video I did on Blood Junkies by Phil. It obviously definitely has that same kind of vibe with how these rules work. And they're very interesting, I think. And right here, we got our normal kind of table of contents, a lot of stuff that you expect to see. And this is our first little taste of kind of the way that this book looks. And I just really dig this. I think this is very easy. You got this photograph here, this Polaroid. This has been crossed out. You can kind of read what it says. It's just it works. To me, it really works. And so what's the concept? What's going on with it? Long story short, people have called you different things in the past. Maybe they've called you the Illuminati, Majestic 12, Knights Templar. You're in essence the G-men, the men in suits. It says you are a rumor. Whenever something kind of happens that's strange, you're the ones they sent in to investigate. You don't just chase criminal lawbreakers. You go where the laws of reality are being broken and make sure they don't break again and that nobody finds out the truth because if reality frays, chaos ensues. You're a member of a secret global organization known as the Tanalorn Agency. You investigate conspiracies, thwart the evil truth that lies underneath, and paint a cover story to protect the necessary ignorance of our reality. And ignorance is bliss. So I dig it. We've got an introduction here. And this is much like Blood Junkies is. It's going to really give you some information right off the bat about how this game works. So it's character-driven play. Action at the table is driven by the proactive in-character decisions that the players make. And just so I can get out there, I really like this type of like kind of forceful, I guess it's just like direction on how to run this game. And Blood Junkies had the same thing. It just really tells you, like, you need to do this. This is how you need to run this situation, or how to tackle this, or maybe don't do that. It's just very matter of fact, and I really dig it. Like right here it says, the most memorable stories emerge far more often as a result of player-character interaction and far less from the GM's creative writing or storytelling. This game isn't meant to tell a story. Ditch the railroad. I just love how it just like, boom. Like right here, more than just the numbers. Make a character, not a caricature. You can just read kind of quick things about it. Agents live double lives. They maintain mundane occupations between their anomalous investigations. And that's cool. You've got a core mechanic. Very easy. You're going to roll 2d6 and compare that sum to a skill value. If it is lower than the skill value, the attempt is successful. If the dice sum is greater than or equal, so you have to get below the skill value, the attempt is a failure. You've got sanity. There's rules for combat, which I really dug them in Blood Junkies. And this obviously very much is like that. You can improve, and then here, scribbled amongst the margins of these pages, are notes and rumors from different investigations as well as tips for the game. I really dig that too. It just gives it a cool look. Like I said, I was really pleased with how this looked. I mean, this right here I thought was really clever. It's very much in-game stuff. And things like this right here are something you can create yourself to hand out to your players right here. And you're going to read, like, last purchase made by the victim. Numerous isolated instances of the same hallucinations, a giant and a one-armed man. So, like, just little cool scribblings here and there that are fun to kind of look through. And this makes you, I think, get kind of creative about how you want to maybe give some props to your players when you're running this game. That's what I think, anyhow. It's like, that would be a cool thing to try to find and hand off to a player. Like, look, here's a little bit of evidence. And these pages here, they're just fun. They're really good. So what is the TA? I know what the TA is, but the Tanalorn Agency, it's going to tell you about the two planes, pretty much our reality and then this other invisible dimension. And there's the membrane that separates them. There's denizens of the chaotic plane, that's what that other area is called the creatures of chaos. They seek to widen the gaps in the membrane by calling out to those of weak will and unsound mind, making them their thralls. They coerce and convince psychos and other outcasts to sow paranoia and fear into the world in exchange for unspeakable rewards. And that's kind of what you're after here, is stopping these things. This may include serial murder, spreading false conspiracies, staging paranormal events, or engaging in cultish activity. These start as stories, but as they create more and more hysteria, the collective paranoia of enough people will cause the membrane to weaken and allow the creatures of chaos to materialize within the lawful plane. This is called a fray event. So, obviously, you are to be quiet, hush-hush about it, and stop these things. The default, which I like this a lot, is set between the late 1970s and the late 1990s. So you need to think about how technology is and wherever you place it. And of course, my mind, of course, is always going to go to X-Files. I'm a big fan of the X-Files, and that is exactly kind of what, even though they were FBI, this is a little bit more Men in Black meet X-Files, I think. There's an ethics code that you have to adhere to, and it tells you here you can become persona non grata, and you'll be terminated, but then it tells you some really cool stuff. And that's one thing, it's very strong on role-playing things. Players wishing to explore this world of fugitive living after a life in a clandestine organization are encouraged to purchase persona non grata by Space Roadie, and you can look for it on Draft RPG, but it's like, hey, you're kicked out, but what if you want to role-play that and continue playing? Very cool. You've got to maintain the secrecy. Again, dig it. What's your structure? Cluster deployment. You're going to have some researchers. They're going to be keeping a lookout for fray events. They're going to alert your cluster team via like newspaper clippings or recordings or news broadcasts or other commonly available media to keep the potential for discovery to a minimum. Sometimes they include a rendezvous point and travel arrangements for agents, but not always. There's a briefing, and then the surface. The agents investigate the situation, speak to witnesses, and so on. They foil. They're going to sabotage, obstruct, and oppose, and otherwise halt the fray event. And then they need to cover it up, of course. You're going to have a base. Now, this is one thing I really like with this game, is that they give you a lot of tools to get going. You are not just there by yourself doing it. You've actually got this base, and that'd be really cool. Impromptu safe house local to your area of the investigation that is equipped with basic necessary forensics, analysis tools, and enough warm bodies to run them. So it's going to tell you it's going to be a place for you to come back to kind of regroup. It's not super, super fancy. It does say it's a bare bones operation, only holding at most 2 or 3 people with which the agents interact. They perform forensic tools and share the data with the agents. And I always like that in X-Files when they go back and toss somebody that was, an expert in their field. And again, some of these really cool little write-ups here to give you some inspiration. I dig that. So you've got different threat levels here. Low, medium, high, and critical. Obviously, isolated regions. They're starting to spread over a wider area. Mass hysteria. They give you a couple of examples of them, such as the high one, of course, for some people that enjoy stuff like this. Anomalies and cryptids. Viral spreading of local rumors. And then you've got critical. This can be a whole, entire states or regions of the country. And it's going to hit everything like widespread local TV or national newspaper coverage. So I like that. Then you've got this little thing here. Again, this just makes me think of, this is kind of the stuff I would like to hand out to my players and be like, look, here you go. You've got a rumor, known intel, eyewitnesses. Very, very cool. I don't know. This is clever. This is really good. I dig that a lot. Character generation. So you need a descriptive sentence. Like right here, Chris Madison, grizzled detective with an affinity for drink and women. David Butler, easygoing biker with a rock-style lifestyle. It's the mental image you think of when creating your character. What's their nature? Do they have a flaw? What is their goals? And I like that a lot. Owes somebody a lot of money. And have you written here? He's kind of done a character in the handwriting there. Calloway wants to write a best-selling book. Addicted to a substance, maybe accomplish fame. Then you've got your characteristics. You've got physical, mental, and social characteristics. You're going to have pretty much your primary pick. You'll get 6 points to put into these different skills, different characteristics. They're not skills, they're characteristics. But you'll put your points into them. They all start already at 1, and they give you, it gives you an example right here of making this character. So that's pretty neat. Then you'll get skills. Every skill starts with the sum of 2 characteristics. So 2 characteristics will come together, give you a skill. And then you're going to go through this right here. You're going to have a life path. And so you'll choose, like for your culture, hometown region. Was it rural? Were you a drifter, suburban, urban? And then you're going to get points. You're going to get skill points for that. And he's done this Callaway right here. education, career, and then you're going to choose a couple personal skills too that you've practiced over the years. Very cool. Hit points are interesting. They're going to be based kind of like off location. Of course, your torso and your head are going to be very important. There's rules here for sanity, your composure plus your resolve plus 4. You'll take sanity hits on some things. You'll also get stressed out, and that's a good thing that you can throw at characters when they do stuff. You can give them stress. Gear is important as well. You've got weapons and armor, and one thing that's cool about the armor is that there's visibility about it, and they can just pretty much absorb damage, and then they're kind of done. You need to get something else. And then this weapon thing is cool in that, like, impact weapons do damage equal to or lower than the die value in the attack roll. So whenever you roll your attack, if it says lower die, the lower die will be what you do damage-wise. And for, like, piercing weapons, the higher die will be what you choose. And obviously the examples of the weapons are there to show you that, like, in firearms, you just add them up, the 2 dice. And that's what damage you do. Contacts are very important. Each agent gets 6 contacts that they can call upon at almost any time. 3 of these are determined by the agent's life path, and the other 3 are determined by the player's choice. Contacts are not, they're pretty much something you can't just, like, use to fix a problem. They have to be consistent with the setting tone and item scarcity. And what you'll do is you've got 2 different kind of stats for them, and the acumen is going to be how good they are at their specialty, and loyalty is how loyal they are not to betray you. And you're going to choose and kind of pick from these lists here. Like you can see here, like the contacts here. This Mr. Salivas, he's a scholar. He's picked one of the 8s and the loyalty of one of the 7s. Mary Whitaker is a lawyer. Acumen is 9. Loyalty is 6. So you have to kind of like pick of those how you're going to put them into your contacts. And these are very strong. The contacts are a strong thing you want to use in your game. And they give you some example contacts right there, and connections you may have in your past events with each of the different player characters. Maybe something happened where you stole credit from the other one, or you owe them money, or you're a thorn in the other person's side. And it shows here Callaway and his cluster of people. And then this is just, I love these sections like this. And I like how this is like an own little game mechanics manual right here. So yeah, you're going to roll 2d6 and roll under your skill rating. Criticals are a 2 or a 3 if you roll those on 2d6. They'll do stuff obviously in combat and other things. You'll fumble if you roll boxcars, if you roll a 12. Other people can help you out on some stuff. Very easy right here. There's pretty much only 4 things. There is going to be critical, success, failure, and fumble. Those are the 4 outcomes of your rolls. And I like how the fact it tells you that, like, just because you rolled a little bit better doesn't mean anything. It was just a success, and that's cool. How you do up your stress. Narration of action always comes before the dice are rolled. GM should steer clear of prompting players to make a roll if no action has been described. I like that. You'll roll up some stuff for your improvement of your skill. Pretty much if you roll over your skill rating, it increases by the difference of the 2 dice. Minimum of 1, and no skill can be raised higher than 12. Big rules here for sanity. You've got kind of, reminds me a little bit of a Call of Cthulhu type thing where you might get some very small temporary things that might happen to you, like anger, sickness, or you freeze up. And then if you lose 5 or more sanity in a single roll, you'll get some big stuff here. Paranoia, hysteria, things like that. And again, that gives me kind of Call of Cthulhu vibes, and that works quite well. A note here on player agency. Again, it's very direct rules about sanity and stuff like that, and just rules in general. And role-playing tips are, is a strong feature in it. It says just because the agent loses control does not mean that the player should lose control as well. GM should never narrate the actions of the character suffering from insanity, temporary or otherwise. Losing insanity doesn't mean that the player is out of the game, and that's different. A lot of times they're like, "Oh, you're sorry, you lost your character. They went nutty," but then it's like, "Hey, what about if you like to continue to run your player with that issue of being insane, or having some sort of difficulty like that?" I think that's really clever. A lot of games just kind of stop it, but you can continue. Easy rules here for movement. We've got close, nearby, far away, distant, rounds and turns right there. And then here's how you get all your skills. It's gonna be the sum of these 2 things here, and then of course when you're making your character, you're gonna add to those. I really dig this a lot, and again, every time when I open this up, I was like, that's really clever. I dig that a lot. Very easy here how you do a lot of stuff here, attacking and defending. Hit locations, if you want to hit, like aiming at the head is -3, aiming at limb is -1. You can attack creatures of chaos. It says an attack landed by a creature of chaos will always do damage equal to the sum of the dice, not the lower or the higher, like right here. And of course, you can always pacify an opponent. Example of combat, that's helpful. You've got those visibility levels on how your armor is, and how to do injury and death. You'll have like a minor wound. It's going to be like, based off locations. Of course, limbs at 0, limbs below 0 are going to be pretty much destroyed. So it definitely does that kind of thing where you're kind of incapacitated. Your limbs have taken a lot of damage. And then again, total sanity loss right here. And then for opponent stat blocks, very easy in that you've just got these right here. Because a lot of the things you're going to be interacting with is going to be human. And so if you want their stats, you want like their hit points, you can just, here it is. So weak, average, and strong. Example stat blocks right here. I just really like the way this looks. It's very fitting for the, what it's trying to portray here with this setting. And it's easy. He's got like, 5 is weak, 8 is average, 11 is strong for athletics. Athletics plays a good bit into the combat. But yeah, very easy. And again, you've got to roll below those numbers with 2d6. And again, your pluses are going to raise the, like if you have like a skill or something, you're not adding those to your roll, you're adding it to this actual stat. Again, there's that. Writing investigations. Strong section here. Action before dice, plausible explanation, who is involved, give a little push, avoiding the guessing game. This right here, these sections that come up are just very, very strong when it comes to this on how to write investigations, cut the railroad, skip the checklist, and then later on there's going to be a section that's going to be like for the players and for the game master, like hints and tips to play the game. Appendix in here, we've got books, we've got RPGs, movies, video games. So of course you can look through that list and and of course there's Blood Junkies right there. Like, that does make sense. Equipment and gear. So this has got a lot of the stuff that you might need, a bunch of stuff you can have for investigation. You can use money to buy it. Armor, your head, GM advice. Like I said, this section here, it's not about telling the story. Don't use safety tools. That's the same thing that was in Blood Junkies. It talks about how movie ratings are common enough metric to let people know what they're getting into. There's one thing in here I want to try to find if I can find it again. It may be on the player section. Pull the lever. Connections, contacts, and life paths are all levers that the GM can pull to generate drama and action. Let the players play. The GM is not allowed to describe the reactions or actions of player characters. I love it. Planning sessions are not heard by the GM. You must stay in character also. That's one thing it really pushes to, is to stay in character. And it, when you get to like the player advice, it's going to pretty much tell you like, no talking and goofing off at the table. Like, this is how you have to run this game and how you should play it too. Focus on the player characters. Less is always more. And it says, try to run the game with a little of yourself in it as possible. The GM should be the player who talks the least. I love that. Don't play gotcha. Don't do any like, actually, the session to death. I think that's fun. Create a character arc if you're a player. Distributing your skill points. Your descriptive sentence, goals, and life paths will give you an idea of some of or most of your used skills. So use that. Don't just look at them and see how you're going to best like min-max the game. What if my character is smarter than me? I think that's an interesting topic right there. It says, remember that the major portion of the game is narrating character actions. You don't need to personally know which cable sends the signal to the handset to narrate how your character wiretaps a phone. Break things down into manageable pieces. In the game, you are the expert. So any choice that you make isn't obviously destructive should be taken in good faith. If you have a gotcha, there it is. If you have a gotcha GM, leave the table. I love it. That's just fantastic. Create a person, making contacts here, how to role play on your turn. Say where you are and what you do in the moment. Put character speech at the end of your turn. It says this avoids unnecessary confusion. Don't ask the GM questions. I like that. I think that's great. Learn through interaction with the surroundings and conversations with NPCs and PCs. It's just very very different than I know a lot of people have played, and I really like that. Talk in first person, present tense. It's more immediate. Play is cinematic. Nothing happens without description. No floating heads. Only the GM can enact time skips, montages, and fast travel. Out of character chatter, table talk, and meta comments are not allowed. You may take stress for doing this. That's great. Yeah, I like it. That's really cool. There's equipment describing your turn, and then always play selfishly. Your character has to have wants and desires, and you should pursue their desires passionately. Don't feel like you need group consensus for every decision, and don't shy away from conflict with other characters. Prove you can dish it out as well as take it. Remember, it is character versus character, not player versus player. And then we've got an index. Now, I'd love to see an actual investigation in this book. Hopefully one will come out just to give you a little hint more of what you need, a little help, a little couple steps there to get you on your way. But overall, I think that it's got a really easy, clever system. I like the way it looks with this stuff, like I've expressed several times. Maybe it'd been cool to have had like a kind of like investigation, a couple tables and something for you to roll up randomly, and I think that's just because I've seen so much of that in games. But I think it kind of wants you to delve into those things, the appendix in of it, and think about some of these things and create them on your own. But I hope that the game continues to get support. Like I said, maybe an investigation or something. And like I said, a start investigation here in the back would have been very helpful, especially since, I think this game kind of, it knows what it wants from GMs and players. And sometimes you just need a little help getting to where it hopes that you will be with it. But overall, I think it's really cool and different. I applaud him for making it pay what you want. Like I said, if you like it, you pick it up, leave a review. It's pay what you want. If you pick up the PDF for free, please leave a review at least. That's like the least you can do. But if you really like it, send a couple bucks his way or more. And hopefully there'll be more to it that we'll get. And it won't be just something that's kind of a one and done, because I think it's got some legs to it. You can have a lot of fun with it. And I really dig a lot of these GM advice and player advice. I think you can use that not only for this game or like Blood Junkies, but for a lot of other games too. So there it is. Chaos Ensues. Thanks.